Hello everybody, it's Damas Honor and Mystic Tarot, and I'm back, and today I am with Susan Grayson, psychic, medium, tarot reader, and
whatever.
There you go. And I'm interviewing Susan today just to kind of get her life story and those kind of things, but more importantly, to introduce her new book. And this is the book itself. It's Love Your Spiritual Gifts. It is on Amazon presently, so go check it out if you can, if you'd be willing to. That'd be wonderful. Again, Susan Grayson. And Susan, how the hell did you wind up doing metaphysical?
I just had it in me, I guess. It was something that I had to do. And, you know, that book is probably about 40 years in the making. You know, I accumulate things over the years and everything. But I was always fascinated with this stuff. Always, even as a child, you know. And
did you have signs that you had gifts as a young child, or did you just
all have these
the curiosity?
Gifts. That's why I wrote the book, because we all have these gifts.
I like it.
We all can develop them, even if we, you know. I think everybody has these gifts, but they don't want to think about it, or they don't want to be aware of it, or they don't want to work with it. And so this is just to kind of help you realize you do have these gifts, and you can develop them. You can do everything I've done all my life, except I've done it for many years. But yeah, I grew up in a very strict Catholic, Irish, Bostonian family. And, you know, this kind of stuff was a little taboo. You know, we went to church and we did all this normal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I always loved this. You know, every time I saw something like an astrology or anything, I was just fascinated and kind of pulled to it. And I just gravitated to it, and every time I could really learn a little, I did. And so over the years, I taught many classes. I taught classes in tarot. I taught classes in Wicca. I taught classes in candle magic. I taught classes in mediumship. And I mean, every bit of it is fascinating. You know, I don't have everything in my book, but I have the classes that I taught that I enjoyed in the book. You know, I tried to narrow it down. And so basically what that book is, it's an introduction to all these different psychic tools that, you know, if you resonated to something, you could, you know, go and get more books and follow that process of learning. But it's like an introduction. So anybody that wants to know a little bit about the tarot, you know, can pick up some cards, and with my book they can learn a little how to work with the cards.
And that leads me directly to one of my favorite chapters in the book. First of all, folks, when you get, again, as you get the book, I'll show it to you again. And it's of course, Love Your Spiritual Gifts. But it's interesting. One of my favorite chapters in the book is tarot.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting because you would think that since I do tarot so much and I do the psychic stuff so much, that would not, you know, it would be like, okay, let me just whatever. But
right.
It didn't work that way with me. When I read this book, and I'm telling you guys, no matter how long no matter if you do it or not, and if you do, no matter how long, this book for chapter 3, is it 3? I think it's chapter 3, right?
I believe so.
Chapter 3, should the yes, chapter 3. You will appreciate chapter 3. And the reason why I say that is chapter 3 is based on tarot, but I love the way that Susan breaks down tarot. There are first and foremost, when you do, for those of you who don't do tarot, tarot is cards, and there are tarot cards. There's 78, 52 major arcana, 46.
Yeah, 56 minor and
56 minor
22
and 22 major. There you go.
Yeah.
Brain fart. Anyway, but the point is that when you're doing tarot, each of the cards have a very basic meaning. And I say very basic because anybody can read tarot, but the best readers, the good readers, the ones who do it intuitively. In other words, they see the image on the card, and then they get a feel for what that image means, and then it triggers in them how it's meant for the person with them. And of course, it's also being able to combine the cards to tell a story. However, when you understand the basics of how tarot was built, and how tarot, each number, you have 4 suits in the major or minor arcana, but if you understand that the 4s across the board have a certain feel to them, and the 5s have a certain feel to them, and the 6s, then you can have a better grasp of getting to the root of what you're feeling or what you're sensing when you get the intuitive story or the information. And that's what I love about this book. This book gives you an opportunity to understand tarot at that level. So you understand that, hey, if you're getting aces, this is kind of the energy. If you're getting 2s, this is the energy. And for those of you who are just starting, and even the intermediate, it's nice to have that information, which again is not done by a lot of people. Most people want, the Ace of Cups is new incoming happiness, and this is this. But understanding when you have aces what it means is wonderful, again, because it's a way of helping you to understand and highlight the suit itself and what that number rank will do for you. So I thought that was one of the best things. What made you break it down that way?
I tried to break it down because the major arcana, you have 22 cards, and they're the most important things that are going on in your life. If all of a sudden you fall in love, and I kind of made it like the fool is going on this journey.
Yes.
Through he first. He meets a magician, he learns all this stuff, and, he has his first relationship, and, it's just all about the stuff. They are the things that all of us go through in life, but this is like a journey. And what I wanted to do with the tarot, I wanted to kind of keep it simple so anybody could learn it, because the tarot has, if you go with the very basic traditional decks, like the Rider-Waite or whatever, there's a lot of symbolism on each card, and they all have meaning. And you always have that balance, which is positive, which is negative, and it brings things into balance in your life. You have to have a little bit of both. You have to take the good with the bad and make the best of it. But you have positive and negative on every card. Like, for instance, you may have the Magician card. And on the Magician card, you have these, you have the 4 basic elements. You have air, water, fire, earth, and they're on the table there. And you notice the Magician points one hand up to the skies, up to the heavens, and points one hand to the earth. So that is just telling all of us that if we work with our spiritual gifts, a spiritual side, the heavens, the help we have on the other side, whether it be with the angels and guides and loved ones, all that stuff, that's on the spiritual realm. And we work with our physical realm because we have to have both, because we're here in the physical. But together with the physical and the spiritual, you are able to manifest the life you want to create. We all can do this. And so much of the tarot, it's all about energy. Everything is energy. Your energy, that's Chair's energy, and it's the way we live it. It's what and how we think in energy, think in terms. If you think positive, you're going to attract good things into your life, whereas if you think negative, you're going to attract negative things. So it's very important, I tried to stress that in the book, of how you think, and when you lay out a spread, that's what we call laying out the cards in a spread, and it's very important to look at the positions as well as the cards next to you. So you may, with the tarot, it's so funny. It's because I try to stress, when you first get into these deck of cards, you want to really study them, study all the symbolism, what the meaning is and everything. And then when you play with the cards and you put out a spread, if you turn that card over and you're looking at it, all of a sudden, if you're getting a different feeling, it's because the other side is intervening and kind of telling you, well, this is what that person needs to know, not that particular element that's on that card. So when you're doing the cards, you have to rely on the help from the other side. Like I always say a little prayer before I start with the cards. And whatever message I'm getting from the other side, that's far more important than that picture.
And that leads us to chapter 17, which is the intuition chapter. I'm not sure I got the number right. I do. Developing your intuition.
You're good.
So when you talk about, again, the intuition is the intuitive part of a reading is what makes you a better reader or not a better reader. And so when Susan offers the conversation to you about in the book about how to give a basic kind of reading with tarot, it's basic because she's like, don't be afraid. This deck isn't going to bite you. It's not going to hurt you. Don't be afraid that it's too much to learn, because it isn't. And she breaks it down so where you get a little taste of how you can start digesting one at a time, instead of looking at 78 images and saying, oh my, I'll never get through 78. I'll never render 78. Exactly. So that's the cool part about that chapter. And then, as she's saying, the other part is what leads us to chapter 17, which again is that intuitive part. And so the intuitive part, talk about developing the intuition. Again, it kind of, I think you were tapping on some of it around there.
Like with the cards, anybody can learn to read the cards. Anybody can do a reading. But what makes a good reader as opposed to a bad reader, the good reader is going to pay attention to what messages they're getting. I mean, like, I talked about in the book, like one of the first readings I did, it was like, I'm doing this reading for this woman. I thought, well, this is weird. I see this she's on a flying trapeze in the circus. And I thought, oh, how am I going to say that to her? So I said to her, this is really strange, but I see you on a flying trapeze. And, that was just what I received intuitively. And she said, well, I'm not surprised because I spent 3 years in the circus. So, whatever comes through, that's what makes a good reading. That's what, a person is going to say, aha, I can relate to that, because you're getting it intuitively. And I do talk about how to develop your intuition because, we all have these gifts. We're all, how many times during the day you're walking around and all of a sudden you hear your name called? And you think, oh my gosh, there's nobody else here but me. Well, it's probably a loved one on the other side calling to you just to let you know that they are around you. So we all have these gifts. It's just a matter of paying attention and developing them. But the more you develop your gifts, the easier your life is going to be, because you have a trust and faith in the other side that you're getting a lot of help in your everyday life.
Exactly. Now it's my belief that we all have the skills. We are all born with those skills. They are natural to us, and it's us who either poo-poo them and push them aside, or we develop them and use them. And you can for years poo-poo them and put them aside, and then later on come back to them and say, okay, I want to develop these now. And what is your take on that?
Exactly. Everybody has a choice. I'm going to ignore it. This is not what I believe. And, they'll go, continue with their life and not develop those gifts. But, we can all develop this. And it helps you in your everyday life. How many times are you driving along and all of a sudden you get this thought, well, don't go that way, go this way. And you go this way, you listen to your intuitiveness and you go this way and you avoid an accident or you avoid a pileup. So it's like just being aware. And, I just trust the other side to help me every day. And, when I think of a lot of things in my life, I've probably avoided accidents or whatever, simply because I was willing to listen. I was willing to pay attention.
What's interesting, too, is that often where, like my mom would never say she's psychic. She just doesn't. She's like, that word, it's a trigger word. It's like, oh my gosh, psychic. However, she had intuition, and that was an okay word. And she had, she just knew that was okay too. As long as it wasn't called a certain thing, then okay, it's okay. And my parents are from the backwoods of West Virginia, and there's a lot of old wives' tales and a lot of old remedies and things like that. That come with all of this baggage, but it's because of the terminologies they use, it doesn't fit this name, and therefore it's not. And so it's interesting how, if you think, folks out there, if you think that what we're saying is doesn't fit in your world, think about it. Think about the words you use. Oh, you know what? I had a premonition. isn't a premonition maybe psychic? You know, or I just kind of I felt somebody there, but again, it's interesting. You can choose vocabulary, but again, you all have it. It's just to what extent you use it, what extent you accept it, and then what you do with it. Which then leads us to chapter 18, which is, of course, the mediumship. Okay. Let's go into that again, because the reason why I hit these things is that tarot is like the entrance, in my opinion. I kind of get the tarot as like an entrance into having confidence and connecting with spirit and spirit
just
talking to you.
Opening up to the other side.
And then once you do tarot for a while, then you move into usually psychic, because now you've opened and you allowed yourself, which is the intuition, again, allowing yourself to have that conversation and knowing that because of the diction, because of the conversation, because of the knowledge, none of those that you would usually use, then it must not be you. So it has to be somebody else. And so for me, the way I see it is the next step up is from psychic to mediumship, because now that you're open and can communicate, can receive, and even talk, that's when you're more vibrationally closer to the spirits who passed over, which is what the mediumship is. It's communicating with. She sees dead people, folks. In other words, explain.
I don't see so much as I feel it.
Yeah.
And so you may be very good with, your ears listening, and those are the clairs. You may be clairaudient, or you may taste something when somebody's around, like their favorite food or something, or you may smell, their cigarettes or something when that loved one's around you. But basically, all mediumship is proof that we continue living on the other side. That we never really die. Sure, this physical body dies, and but we don't die. Everything you learn here, every experience you've ever had, everything you've ever done, it carries with you. Mm-hmm. So all those experiences, everything, you're still you on the other side. You just don't have this body. Yeah.
It was interesting. Somebody recently broke it down to me and said something I thought was fascinating. Is they said that the body, because there's a theory out there that we are physical, and then there is an equal one of us that is the spirit, and it's one you cannot see, and then there's a silver cord that connects the two. And so until we extinguish, until we leave this existence and transition, is what I'm saying, that spirit is with us. And they call us the recorder, right? So we're like the tape, the cassette, to go old school, cassette tape recorder, right? And the spirit is the cassette tape. So everything that we learn here is put in store over in the spirit. And then when the spirit cuts the cord and no longer is part of our existence, and we have then moved on, we have considered our life contract complete. When that happens, that cassette tape goes into storage, and our storage is our soul. So the soul is us, but it's our entire existence through our life as we came back over and over again.
Like the Akashic Records.
Exactly. And so that's where the soul sits. And then this experience will also come, and it'll be inserted into the soul as yet another cassette, and the many cassettes as we come back over and over again. So when you talk about that, it's a fascinating concept because of that spiritual side, mm-hmm. and because of the connection to the soul. It allows us that communication with the other side, if the other side's willing. And Susan, I don't know how you feel about this, but when you watch some of these Hollywood things and they say, oh, I'm going to call in this spirit, and that spirit comes in, what is your impression of that usually?
Well, it's like playing with the Ouija board. You hear, oh, just play with the Ouija board, and then all these ghosts will come in, and you'll be haunted the rest of your life. Well, any tool you use, whether it's a Ouija board or anything to call in the spirits, you definitely want to think twice before you do it. You really want to protect yourself. You want to say a prayer. You want to protect yourself against any negative spirits, because they're all out there, yeah. Good and bad. So, if you think, if you protect yourself with your angels and good energy, you're going to call in that good energy. You're going to call in and have somebody give you the correct answers. A very interesting program that I watched, and it's on Prime Video. It's called Psychic Academy with the medium Tony Stockwell, and that is a really cool thing to watch, because for 6 weeks, out of 100 people, he chooses 10 people to go on this, to study with him at school for 6 weeks. And they do, and what he does is he exposes them to, spirit drawings, tea leaf readings, the cards, seances and all that stuff. And so they learn to find out what particular tool that they're best at. I mean, you may be great at reading tea leaves. When I was a little girl, me and my girlfriend, we were 15 or 16, and we took the subway into Boston, and we went to Tremont Tea Room. That place is still there since 1938. And we went there, and for $2.50, now I'm showing my age, for $2.50 we got a sandwich and a cup of tea with the tea leaves in it. And we drank the tea, we ate our sandwich, and then they came out and read our tea leaves. It was so cool. So that might be your thing. You may find that's my gift. That's what I relate to, and I'm very good at it. But I'm not. I started with the tarot cards. I had a neighbor. She lived across the street. She was quite a bit older than me. She was like a good 40 years older, but she was such a cool person. And one day she comes over and she brings this deck of tarot cards. And she brought it, and it wasn't a great deck, but I instantly just resonated to it. I loved it. I loved the pictures. I loved the feeling, and you just find something that you really connect with. And so the tarot cards did it for me. And then later she brought over books on reincarnation and everything. She was just such a cool person. But yeah.
Now, of all the gifts that you have, do you have a preferred gift? Do you feel one gives you so much more fulfillment than others, or
probably the mediumship? But even doing tarot cards, it's like all those years I did tarot cards, and I didn't realize, but I was doing mediumship too, because you're depending on the other side to give you some kind of clue or message. And I think mediumship's important because, say you have a child and your child dies. I mean, you want to know that child's okay. You felt responsible for that child. So through mediumship, you can give that parent or that person peace of mind. Your loved one is right here and they have a message for you. And, if you pay attention, they're going to give you good messages so that that sitter, that person that you're helping, can identify with that. Oh yeah, that's my Uncle Joe. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of him for a while. Right. That kind of thing. But we're here to help others. Yeah. We're here to prove to them that life is worth living, that life is wonderful. And yes, it's very fragile and things happen, good and bad. But we chose this. It's important. It's important that
Now, this is, again, over 40 years of lifetime. But the good part, folks, is when you read the book, it's not dense reading. It's not like it's don't have to struggle with every word. Susan wrote this in a very conversational style. So again, when you read it, it's like sitting in front of her and having that conversation, which I think is wonderful, because sometimes when folks write the books, oh my gosh, they're so...
It gets too deep.
It is, and too heavy, and then you have to figure out, what did you just say? Because I'm still stuck on this. And this book, you'll be able to, when you pick it up, you will be able to finish it quickly because you'll want to read it. Because again, it's a conversation. You're having a conversation with Susan with this book, which I think is quite a good thing. Because again, I read a number of books on the metaphysical, and sometimes I'm like, what the hell did they just say? And I have to read it 2 or 3 times, and then I'm thinking, now what are they smoking? Because something ain't happening here. And that's not what I experienced here. I thought it was fascinating. Yeah. You got into the ruins here. You got into, let's see, I'll read some of the chapters just so you can understand, folks, what I'm talking about. There's candle magic. There's psychometry. There's protecting, which again she spoke about, psychic protection, protecting yourself while you're doing this, scrying, automatic writing, I call it auto writing, past life regressions. One of the most fascinating things you can do is having a past life regression. Can you explain that to us?
Okay, so I grew up, like I said, Catholic. We didn't question things. We didn't even think of like reincarnation or anything like that. That was taboo. And when I started getting into, when my friend Pat, when she brought these books over and everything, and I started reading, and I thought, oh my gosh, this this is the answers that I've been looking for all my life. And so I read all that stuff and everything. And after I read and I started really studying the reincarnation, because it was taken out of the Bible and all that stuff, and I explained the history of all that in the book. But I started having dreams where I really remembered past lives. And then I remember my husband and I and our son, my son, we had gone to New York City, and we went on the ferry to go see the Statue of Liberty. And all of a sudden, I can't explain, when something really hits you like that. I saw the Statue of Liberty, and I just started crying. I knew that I had come over to New York City from Ireland during the potato, famine and everything. But, I mean, here I am bawling, and everybody's looking at me. I thought, oh, my gosh. But I could remember. And, sometimes you feel like, this deja vu. You go somewhere and you feel like, I've been here before. Like you go to Europe and something, and you go to some particular place and you think, this place looks so familiar. I know what's around the next corner. And that's all because it triggers something in you that you kind of recall a past life. But when you're first born into this life, you forget it, because you don't remember your past lives because it would interfere with your everyday life. Whereas, through hypnotism and hypnotherapy, you can recall past lives and you can figure out, oh, now I know why I always felt this fear about flying or whatever, or, and it's really amazing because in the past lives you may recall something and it just makes so much sense, and it gives you that understanding. And you think, oh, now I don't have that fear anymore because I understand where this came from. It came from a past life. So it's so cool. It's
and
really
chapter
cool.
26, by the way, she dedicates that to, I'll read it off to you, growing up Catholic. So again, the good part is
so please don't hate me.
And then another chapter, which I think is interesting, is before that one, which is how to live the meaning, a meaningful life, which I think is important because, again, I think that it is my belief that when you come in with a contract, a life contract. You come in with a purpose. And my thinking is you come in with 2 or 3 things that you have yet to overcome to make your soul the highest and best it can be, the most perfect. And therefore you're coming back to learn those things, which again go into the cassette, onto the cassette, into the soul. And so you learn and learn and learn. And so when you see this, and that question to me is perfect for that. We are here we have a purpose, we have a meaning for our life. And so that's
say
in that
if
chapter.
say you had a lifetime where you picked on other people, or if somebody was fat, you picked on them or something. Well, chances are you may have a lifetime coming in that you have that problem, that same problem or that same handicap, and it's to help you understand and grow spiritually, because we're all in this journey together. We're all brothers and sisters. You're no different than I am. We're here struggling, and we're trying to make the best of things, and we're trying to grow spiritually. And you can always choose to come back again
Exactly.
if you want to.
Exactly.
But a lot of times people keep coming back because they come back because the earth is beautiful. It's blue. It's green, and we want to be with those people that were so special to us in a previous lifetime. And sometimes you can't come in as their lover. You maybe have to come in as their son or their daughter or their mother or something. But you want to be close to them. And so usually you will come back in to be around those loved ones. So it's all crazy, but it's all good too.
Fantastic. Well, folks, I think you should go to Amazon, look it up again. Let me put it in the camera for you guys. There we go. Love Your Spiritual Gifts. And Susan, if you could wrap it up in just one sentence or two, what would you say? What would you call? Is this a life well lived? Is that kind of one of the things, or is this a life? I want to share my experiences. How would you wrap it all up with 1 or 2 sentences?
Because we're all individuals, and we all have gifts, and this book is hoping to show you where your gifts lie and how to develop them and how to have a better life and to appreciate everything, to enjoy every minute because it is precious. and it is a gift.
And that gift and that story is interwoven with Susan's life and with her experiences. So therefore, again, you're not just getting a treatise on one and another types of metaphysical. You're getting a life story that is woven around the development of the metaphysical. So again, check out the book. It's on Amazon. Love Your Spiritual Gifts.
And I do want to say one
Grayson,
thing.
by the way.
You know, this whole book was written by my experiences, my growth, my journey, and some of it you may read and you agree with, some of it you may not agree with, but it's here to show you that, you know, you can develop your gifts and you can have a good life. You can enjoy yourself and you can surround yourself with positive energy, and it doesn't have to be negative, or you don't have to live in fear, but you can choose to live in love instead.
Live in love. There you go. And more importantly, live your own path. Nobody walks the same path. So live in your truth, in your light, in your love, and that's the freedom you get by embracing your spiritual gifts and loving them. Thank you, Susan, for popping in today.
Thank you so much, John, for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody, again, Amazon. Also, Susan, where can they find, if they want to find out more about Susan Grayson, how do they reach you?
I am on, my website is susangraysonpsychicmedium.com, and I'm on every Tuesday morning with Julie, and we do free readings.
Live
and
stream?
that is so fun. Yeah, live on
And where do they live?
Facebook
which platforms?
and YouTube.
Facebook and
I can't
YouTube. There you
talk.
go.
But we have a lot of fun, and we help a lot of people, and it's free readings. You know, why not call? And if you have a puzzling question or something you want to know, just write it in, and we'll be there Tuesday morning to answer your questions and help you have a better life.
And you can find her on YouTube and Facebook under her name, Susan Grayson. And when you find her, there may be a few Susan Graysons out there, but her logo will show. So it's not a picture; it's a logo. And when it is, it's a set of hands reaching like this to heaven.
The sky, yeah.
And so it's purple and so forth. So when you see it, hers is the Susan Grayson that's not the image, but yet is a purple background with hands like this. And I'll post at the end of this a copy of what we're talking about, so you can find it and the locations to find her.
And I will have you know, Dawn designed my logo, and it's beautiful, and I love it. My son helped me format the book, and he designed the cover, and it's just so much fun, you know? Learn and grow and share and help other people. Help yourself first, and then you can help others.
Absolutely. Super. Well, with that said, Susan, we are out of here. Thank you again for popping in.
Thank you, Don.
And and we'll give you updates from time to time as things progress with Susan. And don't forget, share the information, share the story, share the information with others. Don't let it stop with you. Share the book title with everybody else as well. And Christmas, birthday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, wonderful gift idea. All right, y'all. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.